Welcome back to my channel, you guys. We have some significant astrology that we're going to be talking about, breaking down today. This weekend, really all weekend, we've got some big stuff going on that is culminating on Sunday with a new moon in the sign of Virgo. This is actually the second new moon in Virgo that has happened over the course of 1 month, which is very rare. We haven't had this occur since 1999. So that in and of itself makes this a unique cosmic event that we've got going on Sunday. But we also have a partial solar eclipse that is happening alongside this new moon in the sign of Virgo. It is happening at the very last degree, critical degree of the sign of Virgo. 29 degrees and 5 minutes is the exact alignment between the sun and the moon. It is taking place on Sunday, September 21st, 2025, 19:55 Universal Time, 3:55 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is going to be a jam-packed report. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover, a lot to get into. It could definitely be a strange weekend. The new moon in Virgo solar eclipse, of course, is going to be the highlight and the main focus of our report for the day. But we also have some things taking place Friday and Saturday leading into this eclipse that I feel like are also of relevance. So I'm going to talk a bit about what we've got going on Friday, what we've got going on Saturday, and how this plays into sort of like the overall cosmic message that is being delivered through our second new moon in the sign of Virgo that is closing out our eclipse season as well. We have been in an eclipse window this past 2 weeks. We had a full moon lunar eclipse that took place with the North Node in a conjunction to the North Node 2 weeks ago, and now we are having this solar eclipse that is with the South Node of the moon in the sign of Virgo. This is a point of some serious karmic endings. One thing you can definitely take away from this report today, I hope, is the understanding that we have definitely come to the end of some process that has been underway for a long period of time, and this is the closing out point. Things are transitioning. This is a major energetic turning point. We have been in this very transitional energy really all year, all of 2025, but this right here, you guys, this is a very significant fork in the road, okay? And not only that, we do also interestingly have the equinox that is going to be taking place the following day on the 22nd, and the sun's going to enter the sign of Libra, which is a cardinal season, cardinal cycle, a phase of actively initiating something, endings and beginnings, you guys. Something has run its course for sure, and there is a shift in a radical new direction, I think, coming up here, kind of from this point moving forward. So all of that being said, let's get into the report. It should be an interesting weekend. There could be some very real shakeups or bizarre news or things just generally happening on Friday. Saturday could be a strange, unusual, out of the ordinary day as well. There could be kind of some wild things going on, maybe specifically with people acting different, people surprising you, people with some very maybe unexpected things to say. The themes of shock and disbelief in combination, I think, could characterize a lot of the experiences that people may be encountering throughout the course of the weekend. Sunday, of course, this is the new moon, right? This is the partial eclipse. This is where all of this energy is building this weekend. And it is, as I mentioned earlier, a rare double new moon. August 22nd was when we had the first new moon in Virgo. And then this is the second one that was at the very, very beginning of the sign. This one is, of course, at the very, very end of the sign. And before that, it was 1999, the last time that we had this particular energy pattern with 2 new moons happening in 1 month in the sign of Virgo occur. So rare occurrence. Of course, it's also eclipse season, as I have stated, and as we know, which is making it even that much more rare that we would have this rare double new moon in Virgo happen during eclipse season during Virgo season, which is our eclipse season. So that is noteworthy as well as we consider the uniqueness and rarity of this particular alignment that we've got going on. And also the fact that you guys, that it's happening at the very last critical degree of the sign, the 0 degree of any sign and the very last 29th degree of any sign hold extra power in terms of just the expression of the energy of that sign. And the last degree, that is about also something being completed, something having run its course, coming to the end of something, the full spectrum of something somehow having been experienced or arrived at, which is interesting that I'm like choosing those words in this moment, because the position of Saturn right now, who is in a near exact opposition to the new moon, and we'll be talking all about that in the report for the day, but he's currently at the Sabian symbol of 29 degrees of the sign of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is light breaking down into many colors as it passes through a prism. There could be something about the layers or the dimensions or the varying spectrums of things somehow becoming quite obvious throughout the course of this particular energy that's coming through. And another thing that this is doing, you guys, it is breaking down illusions. It is awakening us on some level, and it is most definitely bringing to an end certain ways that we have been thinking and certain things that we have been believing about things, perhaps for our entire lives. This is meant to be intensely mentally transformative, and we may be going through experiences that provoke that consequence or that outcome. So something to be aware of as we start our journey into the description of how this energy may manifest. So it's about the end of something. It's about something having come to a completion point, come all the way back around, all of the levels having been like met or experienced. Somehow something is coming undone. And most specifically, I think, being that this is Virgo, the old ways, means, methods, systems for getting some type of output or result are just no longer working the way that they used to. Once again, this energy, as I said, all of 2025 really has been sort of provoking these same themes and like coaxing us in this direction. But this energy for sure is bringing us face to face with that turning point, that energy indicating both the downfall of something on one hand and the revival of something on the other. There is both an ending that is being represented here and also some type of new emergence, some type of an awakening, some type of breakthrough, or some type of new beginning somehow. There is a spirit of oppression and control rooted in false beliefs that is losing its grip on the mind of the collective. That's another way that I'm personally deciphering this energetic code that we've got going on. There is also, as I've noted, and I'm going to talk about all the reasons why. I'm going to tell you guys all of the various transits that are leading me to like draw these preconceived notions from this energy, and it will make a lot more sense. But a cosmic force of awakening that is transforming our ideas and our thoughts and our perceptions of what is possible. And I do think that this is going to be, or we will later come to realize that this was a time sort of a karmic or collective turning point in the beliefs and the mind of humanity. Everything keeps coming back to, for me, the shifting beliefs and the shifting thought patterns that are redirecting the nature of the lived experience. Many people, I do think, are going to be experiencing something that they would personally consider to be an awakening in some way at some point as we move through the weekend into next week and through this maybe entire Virgo cycle. Generally, remember, when we are talking about new moon energy, this is like the energetic blueprint for the following 4 weeks. That is the seed energetically that is planted and that is meant to develop and unfold throughout the course of that entire lunar cycle. So the themes that are present during the new moon and the way that that's impacting your chart are going to be the same themes that continue to develop throughout the course of the duration of that lunar cycle. So, you know, when we are talking about a new moon chart, as we are talking about right now, these are what we're going to be working through actually throughout the course of this next 4 weeks. And because this is also an eclipse season, it's also related to a 6-month period of time from now when the next eclipses will occur. So it's not happening overnight, but this is when seeds, I think, of change are definitely being planted that we are going to see come to fruition over this next upcoming period of time, whether it literally be this weekend or this week or this month or this next 6 months. Changes in the air, you guys. Everything about the nature of our energetic reality right now is speaking to major systemic radical change. Okay? So I think a lot of people could be experiencing some type of an awakening, whether again, it be like currently in the moment or like inklings that begin to come online now and moving forward. And the combination of both shock and disbelief are dual keywords, I think, that are associated with a lot of the way that these changes, endings, and beginnings unfold. That's because both Uranus and Neptune are very much involved in what we've got going on all weekend, and Uranus is the planet that brings sudden awakenings and sudden change, and of course Neptune like skews our ability to see things clearly and have an accurate idea of like what is real and what is not. So let's first address Friday, as I said, and then we'll talk about Saturday, and then we will really get into the details associated with this double Virgo new moon solar eclipse that is coming in on Sunday. So Friday is, or could be, or may have been, depending on when you're watching this, a very strange day, very unusual day. We've got a quite powerful Uranian energy that is going on and being activated by a few different planets. And Mercury, the combination of Mercury and Uranus energy is very, very strong as well. And Mercury's a messenger planet. Uranus brings shocks and surprises. So there could just be some like wild news or information, or it could just be a different day for some reason. We also have a grand trine in air signs going on, you guys. I have been talking about for a while now that the first degree of the sign of Libra is a special point in the sky at this moment. This is the location that planets need to be in order to complete the grand trine in air with Pluto, who is currently retrograding at 1 degree of Aquarius, and Uranus, who is currently retrograding at 1 degree of Gemini. They are both air signs. They are in a dynamic and sustained trine with one another right now. To me, that is the great awakening frequency that is having the greatest impact on bridging us into the age of Aquarius at this point in time. Now, the third air sign, aside from Aquarius and Gemini, is Libra. So when we have planets at this point in time, while these big, slow outer planets are at that 1 degree, that planet at 1 Libra is completing the trine with Pluto and Uranus. Grand air trine, okay? And right now, this weekend, on Friday, building into this eclipse, which, let me tell you, this is a Virgo new moon, right? Virgo is ruled by what planet? Virgo is ruled by Mercury. The South Node is in the sign of Virgo right now as well. The South Node rules karmic endings, okay? The South Node is in a close enough proximity to this new moon to be bringing us the partial eclipse. That's why we're having an eclipse right now. Also currently ruled by the planet Mercury. Mercury is about the mind, right? Mercury is ruling our Virgo season, our Virgo new moon, our Virgo eclipse, and Mercury is like on an ultra pedestal right now because this is the second Virgo new moon. Mercury is like the all-star because Mercury is ruling 2 lunar cycles in 1 month. Mercury is very powerful in the sky right now because of what's going on in Mercury's signs. And the other sign, Mercury rules two signs. Mercury rules Virgo, Mercury rules Gemini. The other sign ruled by Mercury, Gemini, that's where Uranus is, in that trine with Pluto. Uranus, again, this is about awakening and change. Mercury's the mind. Virgo, this is also that mental energy with the south node there. This is karmic endings and karmic releases, okay? Something about changing the way that we are thinking about things, coming through 2 different ways, and Mercury in charge of the energy as we move through these activations this weekend. Now we put Mercury, who is the guiding light, okay, of what's happening in Virgo right now, exactly in that grand trine and air signs with Uranus and Pluto. That's a mental awakening. That is mental transformation. That is like flash of insight on some entire other level that like changes the entire paradigm in an instant. It is like a huge need for authentic self-expression and like freedom of speech and stuff like that, like the ability to be authentic and true in the expression of one's ideas and words and language. This is a very, very rebellious, revolutionary, non-conformist, like decentralized mental attitude. And it's Pluto is about transformation, Uranus is about change, Mercury is the mind. These are air signs. This is also about communication and ideas. And then we like so we've got that going on, okay? That is the main energy on Friday, is we've got this grand trine and air signs, but it's not just that. We also on Friday have Venus and the moon, who happen to be transiting together in the sky. The moon just for whatever reason happens to be aligning with Venus as Venus leaves the sign of Leo, enters the sign of Virgo, ruled by Mercury, and the moon also enters the sign of Virgo, ruled by Mercury. So now we've also got Venus and the moon in Mercury's signs. What happens, I just got done telling you guys that Uranus is currently at 1 degree of the sign of Gemini. When planets are entering the 1st degree of Virgo right now, that is putting them into exact mutable square with Uranus in the sign of Gemini. Gemini and Virgo square each other. So not only do we have a grand trine and air signs going on because of Mercury at 1 Libra, who is ruling everything that is happening and everything that we're building into with this Virgo energy right now, but Venus and the moon in combination together are also exactly square Uranus while this is going on. So that's a lot of Uranian energy and influence, and it is very, very tightly woven with this mercurial energy as well that is ruling the new moon solar eclipse that we've got going on this weekend and the days to come, represented through the entire period of time that the Virgo lunar cycle encapsulates. So needless to say, you guys, we are probably going to be changing the way that we are thinking about things, looking at things. Venus and Mercury are also now in mutual reception as of Friday. Venus is in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. I just got done telling you Mercury is in Libra, ruled by Venus. The choices and decisions that we're making about what we want is likely to change. What we find valuable or like worth our time and effort is likely to change. And Venus and the moon together, okay? You know, let's talk more specifically about Friday. Venus plus the moon, this is what we appreciate. This is what we love. This is how we desire to feel. In the sign of Virgo, this is organized, orderly, grounded, neat, very put together. But then we bring in that immediate square to Uranus in the sign of Gemini. It's like we just cannot get it done. for some reason. Distractions, noise, random tasks, people just like popping up and talking to you, emails, calls, sudden changes to plans, unexpected like interference that is just coming up. This could be the day on Friday. There is likely to be, with Venus and the moon, a desire for things to flow in an orderly fashion. But with the square to Uranus there, it is probably just not the case. And then we bring in, of course, Mercury ruling that energy in Venus's sign, in the trine to Uranus, in the trine to Pluto. It's like this is not just like, you know, our plans or the next move that we were about to make changing. This is like all the rules to the game suddenly changing, or the entire playing board, game board, just suddenly changing completely as well, and us having to adapt, or us having to adjust, or us having to alter how we're doing things in order to respond to that. There is a significant amount of adaptation, I think, that we're just going to have to sort of like learn to work with as we adjust to and move towards this revival or this emergence of like the future that's coming in right now. Because a lot of things are just going to have to be done differently. The systems and the methods and the ways and the means and the templates that functioned very well in the past are just no longer going to be effective because of the varying shifts and alterations that are happening in the reality, kind of like all over the place, not all at once, but in cumulative ways, as we move into this energy. Now, again, Mercury and Venus, mutual reception, relationships, partnerships, other people, values, resources, assets, money, legal situations, deals, negotiations, sales, things to do with art, beauty, image, aesthetic, what we value, what we find valuable. These things could be highlighted, and these things could be very much involved in the processes of change that are going on in our lives right now. Reevaluations and reevaluating things generally could be a part of this. This could also, though, I'm definitely feeling the lean here towards technological like innovations, announcements of maybe new inventions or new technology, communication technology, AI, things to do with science or information, travel and air travel, and like space related stuff generally, space travel, mind power also, like the power of the mind and things to do with mental connectivity. Also the air, also the sky, progress, innovation, breakthroughs, novelty. For sure, when this grand trine is being activated, it doesn't really matter what planet it is. When that grand air trine is being fulfilled, when planets are hitting the first degree of Libra, it is activating the flow of that energy between Uranus and Pluto. And that is this that's like this like tech revolution, like sci-fi world energy that really is bringing in like emerging forms of power and emerging forms of, specifically with Uranus and Gemini, like communication technology and stuff like that, that is just really going to revolutionize a lot of things in ways that we can't imagine or perceive right now, but that are being seeded right now. But focus on the sky, a focus on the air powerfully maybe with this grand air trine seems like it could be that, or again, the power of the mind or the power of information. But we're talking about big time Uranus energy here, you guys. Uranus in that grand air trine, Mercury ruling Uranus and being the planet that is in the trine, and also the moon in Mercury's other sign and square to Uranus with Venus right there. Shakeups are likely. You might learn something crazy. This is uncovering hidden secrets and bringing like long withheld or suppressed or repressed truth to light as well. It's also a very mentally stimulating, fast-paced, again, like revolutionary type of energy. People are going to be seeking freedom. People are going to be wanting to express their ideas authentically. People are going to be willing to break away, break the rules, break like out of the mold if they feel restricted, if they feel oppressed, if they feel controlled. Like, that is not an energy that is going to be well tolerated when we've got a blueprint like this coming through. And it is also showing in the chart because the new moon is, the eclipse is opposite Saturn retrograding in Pisces, which is like the breakdown in control, the breakdown in limitation, like the dissolving of the boundaries and the barriers and the like previous limitations that may have like prevented this type of growth in the past. So again, we have both sides of the spectrum, or like both sides of the coin, or both polarities here, both being highlighted, both being indicated, both the future and the past, like karma and destiny. It's highly ironic and synchronistic considering, you know, this is also eclipse season and this is also an eclipse that we're talking about. So I emphasize the powerful nature of the frequency changes that are being broadcast to us at this point in time. Now, there could definitely be some disruptions in financial markets that we see go on Friday or this weekend. I mean, Venus and Mercury in mutual reception, while Mercury in Libra is trine Pluto and Uranus. That right there could bring disruptions and unexpected things to go on with deals, transactions, purchases, sales, legal outcomes, financial markets. But then when we also take Venus, of course, you know, ruling the position of Mercury, Mercury ruling the position of Venus, put the moon there, and then put it exactly square Uranus also from the sign of Virgo, which is about like the outcome and the harvest and the produce and the profit from things. There could be some unexpected things having to do with harvests or profits or gains or markets, okay, financial, like shock and disbelief, again, are these dual energetic themes that are coming up and may be applied to a variety of different like manifestations or areas of life, but financial markets could definitely be one of them. Of course, Mercury in Libra is forming the grand trine, right? But another thing Mercury is doing, which I have not mentioned yet, is also forming in opposition to Neptune. I talked about this in my last video. That's where the disbelief factor comes in. We've talked a lot about the shock factor with the Uranian energy. That is what Uranus does. It sends an electrical charge to whatever it touches. But Neptune is the illusion. Neptune is the distortion. Neptune is the fog. Neptune is the dream. Neptune rules all that is unclear, all that is obscured or hidden or not entirely perceptible. So when we've got planets, specifically, you know, Mercury also ruling our mind, on one hand in the trine to Uranus and Pluto, which is really powering up the shock factor of things, and on the other hand in an opposition to Neptune, it's like I'm wide awake and totally perplexed, but also I don't even know if I can believe or trust my own eyes here, you know? So there could be like experiences, again, that are kind of in various ways reflecting that notion. But that is why I think specifically shock and disbelief could be accompanying various scenarios in multiple ways as we move through this energy. Electrifying the mind, having us question whether it's real or whether we're like literally just dreaming. So that's Friday, you guys. Now, Saturday, things do simmer down a bit. The moon is no longer an exact square with Uranus or exact conjunction to Venus either. The moon has continued to move through the sign of Virgo. Mercury has also changed degrees, is no longer at the exact point in Libra that totally makes a perfect grand air trine with Uranus and Pluto go on. So that energy is a bit less potent on Saturday as well. But we do have on Saturday Venus at 1 degree of Virgo, putting her exactly into square with Uranus. And we also have the moon in the sign of Virgo conjuncting the south node. So again, you know, it could be financial or relationship shakeups, things to do with Venus themes. In a harsh aspect with the planet that rules Great Awakening and sudden change. So you could be coming to discover something. It may like disrupt the peace, like disturb the peace, or like disrupt the comfort zone. Like it might not be exactly what we want, but there will be some element of truth that is coming through, most likely in whatever these shakeups are bringing. This could also be market strangeness going on. This could be instability generally, specifically, again, you know, relationships and finances. It is also an energy that activates a strong desire for authenticity and for change. And with the moon in the sign of Virgo, also conjunct the south node. The moon is our emotions, our feelings. The south node is the release point. Okay, so being maybe or feeling ready to release something, feeling emotionally done with something, feeling like we can let something go. Emotional release might also be a vibe. And in the sign of Virgo, with this is an earth sign, like people may be, and with Venus squaring Uranus as well, people may be like spontaneously deciding to get rid of things, to like possessions, like going on like a cleaning binge and just getting rid of everything that we don't really need or we don't really value, and it being maybe like very sudden or unexpected. That is the type of thing that I would expect to see taking place in maybe a multitude of ways as one expression of this energy. But it could also be about realizing or awakening to the fact that we're finally ready to like stop playing some game, or stop perpetuating some cycle, or stop dealing with something or continuing to do something. Again, like changing habits, changing patterns, changing routines, altering lifestyle, the way that we're doing things on a day-to-day basis, what we're putting into things, and the results we're getting as a result. This would be the theme of our entire Virgo season and our eclipse season. So it would make sense if the way that this energy is hitting on Saturday is kind of nudging us in that direction as well. There could be uncertainty, unanticipated interference with the Venus-Uranus square, having to do specifically maybe with plans, schedules, meetings, like parties, events, social rendezvous, or travel, transit, like getting places at the right time. There could be like unexpected things that come up in transit that make us like redirect our path or something like that. And other people, Venus rules other people. It's a social dynamic in the square to Uranus, like could be acting weird, acting strange. There could be like weird, awkward social dynamics more likely on Saturday as people are just kind of like manifesting and expressing this energy. People could be talking to you about some real unusual or like out of left field type of topics. This could also, though, be people surprising you maybe out of nowhere with unusual or unexpected offers or opportunities, because Uranus in the sign of Gemini is all about options and alternatives and opportunities. And with Uranus there, that is unexpected opportunities that, if you got unexpected opportunities that come up in this energy, they're probably for the best. You may want to very strongly consider them. This could also, though, indicate another end of this energy could be like strange investments or purchases, or like unexpectedly needing to buy something or spend money on something that is unusual, like, or spending money on like some type of new technology or something like that. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. People also could just be feeling like unsatisfied with the status quo of something, have a very strong desire for something new, something different, something exciting, and something mentally stimulating. Most, or not most, but a lot of relationship issues that pop up in this energy are going to be as a result of a lack of mental stimulation in either one of the people involved. Boredom has no place here, okay? Like, what is overly mundane or monotonous has no place in this energy. Boredom in relationships is definitely not going to stand with this. People are going to desire change, excitement, stimulation, and authenticity. If things feel understimulating and inauthentic and boring, that is another thing that could trigger some of this sudden, unexpected exits, endings, change, and awakenings as well. So that is our energy for Saturday, Friday, and Saturday. That is our lead-in to our main show of the weekend, highlight of the weekend, the second of two new moon in Virgos that have happened this month. That is also a partial solar eclipse with the south node of the moon. Now, keep in mind that while all that energy I just described, right, playing out Friday and Saturday is going on, we also, of course, are experiencing the sun building into an opposition with Saturn in the sky, because as I've already told you and I've mentioned a few times in my videos throughout the week, the new moon is in a pretty almost exact opposition to Saturn. In order for that to take place, it means that leading into that new moon, the sun has incrementally been ticking closer and closer into opposition with Saturn. So while we've got all that crazy Uranian, Mercury, Venus energy, south node energy going on out there Friday and Saturday, we also have the sun building closer and closer into an opposition with Saturn. It's crazy because we get one sun-Saturn opposition a year, and it happens to be happening in basically exact alignment with this, I've already stated several times, rare and unique cosmic lineup that we've got going on this weekend. So Saturn is always like a significant heavy energy, but even more so, like, it is coming in exactly when we've got this very karmic event taking place, and Saturn is the lord of karma, okay? The south node is the point of karmic release, but Saturn has traditionally been referred to as the lord of karma. Saturn brings our karmic lessons, okay? Trials and tribulations and tests that we must overcome to master ourselves and release ourselves from these karmic loads, karmic burdens, karmic cycles, something that is very much indicated to be happening while we've got this period of time and the alignments associated with it taking place. And Saturn is also retrograde, and Saturn is also at the 28th degree of the sign of Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. Again, this is the end of some karmic cycle that has been perpetuating for long periods of time, that is related to how our previous or past beliefs that we've held and maintained have defined us personally and have structured our viewpoint of life and reality. Epic personal paradigm shifts in terms of our understanding of everything, life and reality, indicated through this process that we are moving through. The exact opposition between the sun and Saturn occurs Saturday into Sunday. By the time that the new moon comes exact on Sunday, the alignment, as I told you guys, between the sun and the moon is happening at 29 degrees and 5 minutes of the sign of Virgo. Saturn is at 28 degrees of the sign of Pisces. So we're 5 degree minutes out of the exact alignment. Saturn is retrograde. Saturn rules control, authority, structure, foundation, tradition, the past, karma, convention, history, okay? This is the breakdown, the loss of control, the fall of the old way or the old world energy, the established beliefs that have functioned as the framework of our reality and therefore have controlled the manifestation of the forms and the structures in our lives, the manifest destiny up until this point in time, breaking down those beliefs and those perceptions that have upheld the paradigm that we've been in up until now, losing their grip on our perception of reality now and moving forward. Meanwhile, the sun and the moon at 29 degrees, the very last degree, with the south node in the sign of Virgo, we have reached the end of old limiting thought patterns, Virgo energy, Mercury ruling that in the trine to Uranus and Pluto. I know that you guys see this. I know that you guys are following me. Okay, we have reached the end of old or limiting thought patterns, aka beliefs, aka subconscious programming, aka our own internal algorithm that has like similarly defined our experience. So we're about to realize and come to understand as a facet of our entrance into the age of Aquarius, because I do think that this is going to be a foundation of the way that that paradigm operates, how much more powerful our mind is in the context of reality creation than we have perceived it to be for whatever reason up until this specific period of time. And of course, that is also going to change the way that we view our mind, view our mental energy, and the value that it has as well. So we're in this rare, right, karmic south node Virgo new moon eclipse that is changing the way that we use our mind. Also, new moon at 29 Virgo. You know what that's doing, you guys? Haven't talked about this yet. What happens after 29 degrees of the sign of Virgo? Where do we move? We move to 1 degree of the sign of Libra. So guess what that means about actually like tomorrow, but this upcoming week? It means that, as I told you guys in the beginning, you know, that 1st degree of the sign of Libra right now, how it's a very special location because of it's the activation point for that grand air trine with Uranus and Pluto. Well, the sun is right on the heels of Mercury, and the sun is going to make that activation happen next. I believe it's going to be exact on Tuesday of this upcoming week, and that is also likely to be setting some things in motion along these very same lines, maybe even to a greater extent. But that's just 1 degree. Like we're only like, actually it's 2 degrees because the sun will first hit 0 degrees and then we'll hit 1 degree on Tuesday, like I said, which the planets are at 1 degree right now. But as soon as the sun gets into Libra, like that energy is fully plugged in. But even at the last degree of Virgo, this is still a very, very tight trine that we've got going on with Pluto and Uranus. Now, it may be out of sign, out of element, you know, the sun and the moon are coming in at the 29th degree of Virgo. This is the earth sign. Pluto and Uranus are at the 1st degree of their air signs, but the degree proximity is still so close that we still do have a grand trine with the sun and the moon and Pluto and Uranus taking place here. So while on one hand, the new moon is very tightly opposed, the retrograding transit of Saturn through the sign of Pisces right now at the very, very end of that sign, it is also forming the trine with Uranus and Pluto, which is our entrance into this new reality. And like, that's what's coming up next. So we've got to deal with the ending with Saturn before we can head towards that new beginning. And you know what else is going to happen? We can't forget that we've got Neptune right now at 0 degrees of the sign of Aries. And so when the sun and even this new moon at the last degree of Virgo and moving to the 1st degree of Libra, that's also going to put the sun, and it puts the sun and the moon in opposition to Neptune as well. Again, in the trine with Uranus and Pluto, that is the shock factor. In the opposition to Neptune and Saturn retrograde in Pisces, like that is the disbelief. So again, things that are just stimulating and electrifying and awakening us in ways that we never could have imagined, and simultaneously being so unbelievable that we are completely questioning whether it may all just be some type of crazy dream. The emergence, the revival, the revolutionary mental transformation, the awakening, the fact that the new moon is in a trine to Pluto and Uranus as well, even if it is out of sign. This is a bridge. This is a turning point, the end and the beginning, the destruction and creation, nothing and everything at the same time, death and rebirth, a collective cultural shift in conscious awareness, decentralization, the emergence of a new and radically different way of doing and being and thinking, a fork in the road. Like, this is when the shift is felt, is what I'm trying to say. And it will become more and more obvious, I do think, from this point moving forward, that a collective awakening is taking place or has occurred, and the power dynamics have shifted somehow. Things are no longer going to be working the way that they always have. The legacies of the past are no longer going to hold power the same way as we move forward from this point and beyond. They may still struggle to uphold or maintain an image or a projection, but it will become more and more obvious that these are simply illusions of control rather than true sources of power. Okay? So now, with both the sun and the moon at that last critical degree of the sign of Virgo, opposite Saturn, and despite the significance of the change and endings that this like whole dynamic and situation represents, I do want to let you guys know and state clearly that it probably won't be easy, and it's probably not going to be the most enjoyable thing to experience. When we're talking about really any planet opposed Saturn, but especially the sun and especially the moon, and especially in combination, and especially for this duration of time, and with the eclipse energy and just everything else that's going on right now, the Neptunian influence right there as well. Heavy, serious, worrisome, overwhelming, depressing, draining, cold, rigid, somber, bleak, pessimistic. These would all be key words associated with the way that this Saturn opposition could feel, with it, you know, being both of our luminaries there. Also, like, this is very personal. We really could be feeling it, really feeling low, feeling like your faith is being tested at the end of the road with something, too tired or too miserable or just uninspired, maybe even to continue to go on, struggling to see the purpose in things, like what is even the point anymore. Things could also feel very, very out of control, like they're just coming apart at the seams, breaking down, people feeling like just quitting the game altogether, checking out of reality. It is hard to keep going oftentimes when we have this type of Saturn energy that is just pressing on us in the midst of like all of this other stuff that's going on as well. It can definitely bring up feelings of failure, feelings of inadequacy. And there could like legitimately be actual mechanical breakdowns that are happening more in this energy. That is something that often we can get when we've got either a Saturn or a Pluto opposition going on, like the literal like machines themselves, or what makes things run, or what enables us to get the job done, just not working, failing to operate, breaking down, preventing us from being able to like complete a task or finish the job or reach the goal or meet the quota, whatever it is with the Virgo energy. This is also people breaking the rules, not following orders, not following directions, not doing what they're told to do, and things therefore maybe coming unraveled, coming apart. And again, I mentioned this in some of my other videos for this week, mental health issues, substance issues, depression issues, these could all be amplified in this energy, alongside perhaps a sense of hopelessness, detachment, and apathy. So if you are feeling, you know, or picking up on any of these notes playing out there, just try to be conscious of the fact that this is a passing energy. It really, Saturn does really have a tendency to narrow our focus on what's difficult and what's hard and you know, it gives us just a more like critical, especially when we're dealing with all this Virgo energy, like a much more critical and judgmental and failure-based mindset and mental perception. And, you know, stress and anxiety can already be a thing when we've got a lot of heavy Virgo energy going on. So just some stuff to be mindful of. There could also be some kind of job or task or skill or training or class or information that you find yourself like intently focused on. Saturn and energy, when we're dealing with especially like Virgo, strong Virgo, 29-degree Virgo energy in its opposition like this with the sun and the moon, this can just have us intently focused on something. Also, this is interesting to me, the position of the new moon, I told you guys, is occurring at 29 degrees of sign of Virgo. The Sabian symbol of 30 Virgo that's associated with that degree is having an urgent task to complete. A man doesn't look to any distractions, which I feel like is like right on point, like entirely aligned with a new moon in Virgo at the last degree of the sign of Virgo and like nearly exactly opposite Saturn. So you really could find yourself channeling like that end of the new moon in Virgo opposite Saturn spectrum of the way that this energy could operate as well. Now, I do think, and this is just, you know, my personal opinion based on my read of this energy, if possible, this is a good weekend to discipline or to work on disciplining the mind. We need to either be focused on learning something or we need to be focused on visualizing something within our mind's eye. These are both positive ways that we can discipline the mind to use our mental energy effectively as we move through this particular energetic window. There's also a couple of symbols that I think are representing these specific principles coming through here. First of all, of course, as I said, the position of the new moon itself, having an urgent task to complete, a man doesn't look to any distractions, would be a reference to disciplining the mind. But we also have Mars at 30 degrees of the sign of Libra. That's another thing that is happening this week. Mars is changing signs. That's going to bring a big vibe shift. We'll be talking about it in the next video. But Mars at the last degree of Libra, that Sabian symbol is 3 mounds of knowledge on the philosopher's head. So perhaps some things to consider. We also have right now the North Node at 19 degrees of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is a master instructing his disciples. And as I mentioned earlier, Saturn, who's obviously a big player in the game right now at 29 degrees of Pisces, the Sabian symbol placement, that Sabian symbol is light breaking into many colors as it passes through a prism. So seeing the multi-dimensional layers of things, the breakdowns, the entire spectrum of knowledge and awareness going on here. We also, this to me is a big one, we have Mercury at 6 degrees of Libra on Sunday when the new moon in Virgo comes in. That Sabian symbol is a man watches his ideals taking a concrete form before his inner vision. So again, like both the concept of being in study of something, learning something, channeling the mental energy in a way that is disciplined and, you know, keeps like a hold of our focus, or concreting something through our inner visions in our mind's eye that we wish to see manifest and experience in the reality. So whether we are disciplining our mind in terms of how we are educating ourselves or what we're learning, or whether we're disciplining our mind in terms of the thoughts that we are allowing ourselves to imagine and focus on, these varying utilizations of mental energy are both also being described through the symbolism in association with planetary placements. We also right now have Chiron at 26 degrees of Aries. That Sabian symbol is a man possessed of more gifts than he can hold. Chiron is about the cycles that we are breaking and the wisdom that we are gaining through the process of healing and overcoming things that have stunted our growth in the past. So, and Uranus is at 2 degrees of the sign of Gemini right now. That Sabian symbol is Santa Claus furtively filling stockings hanging in front of the fireplace. I do think that we are unlocking gifts within ourselves through these shifts in perspectives and these awakenings and these mental transformations that are going on. But the end comes before the beginning. The opposition to Saturn comes before the grand trine and air signs. first we have to like finish what's in the process of coming to an end or concluding. Then the sun opposes Neptune. Like, we might have to go through a bit of a disorientation phase, but then the lights come on and things suddenly, unexpectedly perhaps, maybe start making sense in ways we wouldn't have preconceived or imagined. That's the path, that's the route, that's the trajectory, that's the that's the transit, that's the activation points along the path of planetary transit. So we need to start thinking and using our mind differently. It is the source of our power in this reality moving forward. Maybe that has not been our experience in the past up until now, but that is part of the shift as well. Belief and perception matter. We need to discipline the mind. We need to condition the mind to accept what we consciously program into our inner vision instead of our external subconscious programming continuing to determine our outcomes for us. I think that is a major dynamic of the core shift that is coming into being right now and will be a large component of our shift into the Great Awakening age of Aquarius that we are encountering now and moving forward as well. I think the Great Awakening is an awakening to the true power of the mind as a mechanism for reality creation in this material world. We have been conditioned for centuries and generations either to believe otherwise or just generally we failed to gain an understanding of what I personally perceive to be this core truth and governing rule and law of our reality. But the time to lack the insight or awareness into that type of thing, I do believe is past. And also, I think it is kind of a revival for the thought leaders in this regard in the past, people like Vadim Zeland, Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn. They have been talking, and lots of other people have been talking and writing about these same concepts and principles and universal laws for a long time now. And I actually think that their time is now. And I think a lot more people are going to start embracing the concepts that they introduced us to all those years ago. So that may be a way that you want to orient your education as we move through this period where it's a good thing to discipline our mind and to learn something new and to change the way that we're thinking about things. Studying those authors and their work may be of some benefit, because I do think that there's a lot of power in what they say, especially in regards to the direction that things are heading energetically. Also, just like on a more basic mundane level, this is still the change the input, change the output energy. If you are not getting the results you want, pretty much like in any area of life for whatever reason, changing your environment, changing your method, your resources, your supplies, your mindset, your schedule, routine, diet, and lifestyle, that is going to obviously change the way that the results are being produced. This is Virgo energy. Virgo is the sign of the harvest. It has everything to do with how we cultivate our garden and what our like final outcome, what our product is, like what our profit is as a result. If you upgrade your systems in this energy, if you upgrade your input, if you upgrade your environment, if you upgrade, what you're putting into things, if you clean up and organize what's going in energetically to match what it is that you want to get out, like that is the key in this energy. Like if you are just, doing things the way you've always been doing them, and for some reason you are not getting the growth, you're not getting the output that you expect and you think that you should be getting, this is a time when it's a really good idea to like clean your space, reorganize, move things around, get new supplies, like new materials, like do whatever it is you need to do. You don't need to go spend a whole bunch of money. A lot of people will be, because the South Node in Virgo is going to drain the finances. And we're talking about Uranus and Venus in a square. This is like unexpected purchases. I think a lot of people are going to be buying things this weekend just spontaneously, perhaps to upgrade their system or whatever. But like that's the vibe. that's the energy. If things aren't working, make the changes, get what you need to get to like make your environment that you are putting the energy in reflect the like greater output or the better results that you want to see. Okay, if things aren't working, change. New and innovative and outside the box thinking and solutions are required to move things forward. So we just like, again, the old methods, the old ways, the old systems, the old flow that may have always worked, you know, chef's kiss perfectly in the past. We may have gotten great results from the way that we were doing things. Even if we haven't even changed anything, it's just like, and things just seem to be like flatlining for some reason. It's because you need to change something about how you're doing things, about your system, about your, again, like environment, earth sign, Virgo, about your organization, about the system or the management or the rules or the supplies or the way that things are streamlined, the efficiency, like all that type of stuff. Okay, so if you want to get better results, alter your input. That is some advice that I definitely think is quite clear in this energy as well. And that's what I have to say, you guys. That's my whole rundown. That's my whole interpretation. I'm sure I left out some things here and there, but ultimately, you guys know how I feel about this. Been talking about it for a couple weeks now, ever since we got into Virgo season, because it really just is these same themes on repeat that have just been like getting louder and louder and louder all the way up until we've got this new moon coming in, and it's like new moon in Virgo, very rare, eclipse, south node, Mercury, exactly, basically trine Pluto and Uranus, like right before this happens, Venus squaring Uranus, like everything is just doubling down on the same themes, you know, opposed Saturn at the last degree. Something is ending, something new is emerging. We have a destruction going on, but we also have a spontaneous or like inspiring new revival. We can't get to the true winds of change and new beginnings that are emerging and coming in until we like tie up these loose ends and exit these karmic cycles and drop off these burdens and these loads and, you know, release ourselves from the baggage or the mental confines of these limited perceptions associated with the past. And again, like though this is clearly a very significant and profound energy that's coming through here with a lot of purpose and a big impact, it does not mean that it's going to be easy. A lot of people, a lot of situations, it's going to be like getting smacked upside the head, and that's what makes us open our eyes. You know what I mean? Like it's maybe a bit of a brutal wake-up call, could be, you know, kind of descriptive of this, but a wake-up call nonetheless. And Uranus makes the changes for us that we haven't been able to make for ourselves, you guys. So, you know, sometimes it takes lightning striking the tower for us to find our way out. So that's what I'm going to say about the astrology, you guys. I am going to get us one final additional piece of guidance or advice. I'm asking God, Spirit, Universe. The no card just came out, you guys. So if you are pondering in this moment a yes or no question, the answer to that might be no. I also often refer to that as the on card because depending on how it's looking at me, it either says no or on. So either of those could apply. We're going to get a message card, though, and see what we should keep in mind, what God, Spirit, Universe wants us to know or thinks would be the best advice or guidance for our journey through the weekend and this next couple of days. We have 2 cards coming out. Count on God and you will be guided. So divine assistance all around, you guys. There is a very palpable spiritual presence that is available for us as we navigate whatever we're dealing with right now, just as much as the like wheels of karma are in gear this weekend. the fate, the destiny, the divine alignment element of things, the hand of God very much at play in all that goes on right now, divine orchestration, super powerful presence in all of this as well. Count on God, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Psalms 1:3. You will prosper, you will grow and expand. The law of attraction. Wow, that's so crazy. Not sure if you guys have noticed, but I have been definitely referencing the law of attraction throughout the course of this video because things keep coming back to that for me, like repeatedly over and over again, which is why I like feel like I have to say that. I know, you know, regardless of what your feelings or beliefs are on that matter, I'm telling you, it is playing a role in the way that things are going to start orienting in terms of mental energy going forward. And it's funny that this card is saying that specifically. The law of attraction is now working for you, and you attract all those who will help you in reaching your goals spiritually and materially. So again, like disciplining your mind, you guys, learning things that can benefit you in your process of growth, or being very disciplined and emotionally aligned with your inner vision of that which you wish to create and experience. Our other card says you will be guided, sent his angel to show the things which shortly must be done, Revelation 22:6. And that's actually reminding me of another Sabian symbol that we have present for our new moon in Virgo. Venus will be at 3 degrees of Virgo. That Sabian symbol is 2 angels bringing protection. And this card is saying, sent his angel to show the things which shortly must be done, Revelation 22:6. So again, this presence of a higher power, very, very much involved in the ongoings in the physical plane right now. Shortly, you will be shown the direction you should take. The way will open up for you to move forward. Seize the opportunity that comes to you. Know you are being divinely guided. Listen to the voice within. I feel like that's the direction, you guys. As I said earlier, like we have to get through this Saturnian energy, but then things do open up. We do hit this grand air trine, which is like a propeller or like a propulsion device that like blasts us off in some elevated direction into the air. It's going to be real hard to stay grounded, I think, maybe in the energy of next week. And I already said in the report, like this could be unexpected opportunities coming through as well. And that is what this card is saying also. The way will soon open up for you. Seize the opportunities that come. So there it is, you guys. Count on God and you will be guided. And that's it for me today. That's a wrap for my video on the super rare and all the things new moon in Virgo. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. If they want to narrate the shift of the ages with us, I would love to have them. Leave me comments, you guys. Let me know what's going on with you out there. If you're having experiences that reflect what I'm talking about in these videos, drop me a comment. Let me know. Super valuable information to me. I'm so grateful for your presence on my channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, if you want to see the full board, go in my description box below, click the link to the Facebook group. That is where I post images of those boards. That's where you will find it. Come back with me on Monday, you guys. As I have already stated, we have quite an exhilarating week of energy coming up. There could be some big changes going on. There could be some wild information that comes up. There could be some crazy, like, just unusual stuff or odd conversations. I don't know. We've got a whole another week to talk about it, though, and Mars is changing signs next week as well. So lots more astrology coming up in the month of September, you guys, and I will be back on Monday to talk all about it. You do not want to miss it, and I will see you then, everybody. Have a beautiful weekend, and until next time, bye, guys.